Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn People Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, we are going to be breaking down the latest Christmas movie with all of the magic in Red One. We're going to give our out of the theater reaction to Wicked, which we saw earlier this afternoon. And we're going to talk about much more. And we'll end it with the nice little blind rankings that we have over the last few weeks. As always, joined by my partner here, Mr. Dom Fisher. How are you, bud?
What's poppin', Colonels? Hopefully you are feeling as light and airy as Mike Tyson's ass was on Friday night. Man, I'm good. Not as good as their pockets, but one day I'll get there. I have that foresight, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm talking about. I love it. Can you make sure I'm there with you, though? That's all I really care. Right. You know what I mean? Like, let's not get.
Can't be rich alone. That's boring.
Exactly. You know what I mean? We're doing a fucking Popcorn People podcast from the mansions. You know what I mean? That's what it is. But yeah, like I said, I'm excited kind of to chat about a lot of different things today. I do have, some powerful things to say that I like to say about Red One, which I didn't think I was going to come swinging the fences a little bit about Red One. But Dom, it is award season, man. We are lined up with screeners. Obviously, we had Wicked today. We have Nickel Boys tomorrow. You got Gladiator 2 on Tuesday. We've got about 40 screeners popping up in our inboxes. It's pretty crazy right now, isn't it, man?
Yeah, man. And the one good thing about this time of the year is that, as in this kind of field, if people don't know, yes, we can kind of review what we want to, but also all of us write for somebody, at least most of us write for somebody. So we have to kind of like fight for what we're going to get. Sometimes there's not screenings and you have to like hope that something pops up in your city to get something done in a timely manner. And now we get stuff sent super early because the studios want us to see things so we can vote for them. And I wish it was like this all year long. I love seeing movies in the theater, and I hope they know, if they see this, if it's something that we love, if you send it to us, we'll watch it at home and in the theater as well, because we do want that experience, because that's, the people that we are. But it's just for writing purposes, it is so much easier for us to do it at home on our own time, and we can get it out when, on that timely manner that they want it to. But when we have to wait to a specific time to go watch a screening, we love it. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes the turnaround is so tight that it sucks. Like if we see a movie on a Tuesday and they're like, the embargo is Wednesday morning, we're like, oh, can't even gather my thoughts all the way. You know what I mean? So this time of year is stressful, but it it does help a lot sometimes with, being able to watch them. We've got that the movie doesn't release till December or the end of November. So it's fun to have that and sit with it, maybe watch it 2 or 3 times and then make that decision.
Yeah, and I think the thing about it is obviously it's award season, right? We're both part of Critics' Choice. We have some big decisions coming up in front of us, but it gives us the opportunity to sit in front of the TV and watch these movies. And for me, like you said, a movie like a couple movies that I saw earlier in the year, like A Real Pain, Exhibiting Forgiveness, 2 movies I saw earlier in the year that I hadn't really seen again since January. Getting the opportunity to revisit these right now ahead of award season is really helpful, because both films still sitting in my top 4. I recently rewatched Dune when I was in Los Angeles, and that to me refreshed my perspective on how I felt about that film. I'm like, damn, like sometimes when you see things earlier in the year, you're like, you lose sight of like, yeah, that's still my number 1 movie, but then it's like refreshing to watch it again. And you're like, oh, that really is as good as I remember. You know what I mean? That performance is as good as I remember, and stuff like that. So for me, that's the exciting aspect of this time of the year, because it's nice to watch new things, but it's also nice to remember the things that we did watch already and we're already passionate about. So to me, it's like, all right, we can catch up to a lot of the new things. And I mean, I'm watching so much right now. It's crazy how much I've watched that. A lot that I'm not enamored with, some that I am enamored with. It's interesting to see. And I said this to somebody earlier. I just we've talked about this too. Sometimes because I'd say 85, 80%, let's just go 80%. 80% of the time, we really do mesh on our feelings about movies.
Yeah,
Especially,
yeah,
we might not love the same things about the movie. We might love different things about the movies. We might hate different things about a movie, but I feel like our scores kind of always line up about 8 out of 10 times. And
yeah,
where it is where it's different. But to me, it's like I feel like this right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like sometimes we're watching different movies from people, right? You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
there's like, oh, this movie's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it's like you watch the movie and you're completely, utterly underwhelmed, right?
Yeah, and I think we're all guilty of it in different aspects of life, but I think what happens a lot of the time is, especially in this industry, because we all want to make a name for ourselves, or we all want to be that person that people can go to when they want to look for what's new and what's good, and everyone is so afraid of being on the opposite side of what's popular. So if someone says so and so has the best performance of the year, and you're like, no, I saw that and it was terrible, and they're afraid to go against the grain, so they just kind of join the majority, and then when the rest of the when the audience, the general audience gets to see the movie, they make the decision and you end up being going against yourself sometimes because if you said it was terrible to yourself, but then out, when you posted your stuff online, said it was great, then it comes out, oh, the movie had a cinema score of this, and you're like, oh, I thought the same. The audience would have agreed with me, but I went against my better judgment. And I feel like that happens a lot with people, especially when you see people post stuff online and then you see them in person, and then you're like, hold up, that ain't what you said the other day. I could have sworn you said something else. So it's like, you know, I think me and you both um stand on what we say, and it is what it is. Like, I watched what I watched, and there might be an occasion where you do a rewatch and you go, oh, it's a little bit better than I remember, but that's what the rewatch is for. But again, like I said, sometimes we have to pump stuff out so quick. We didn't have time to fully digest or fully dissect every aspect like the general audience does. But yeah, I mean, whatever you feel, stand on what you feel. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because that's one thing that I take pride in myself in if you're gonna hear me say good things or bad things about a movie, like you by now people should understand like that's how I feel, right? You know what I mean? If I'm gonna tell you a movie's dog shit, if it's a movie's dog shit, if it's good, it's gonna be good type of thing. But for me, that's one of the things. It's funny because a lot of people don't understand. Like that's why I feel like we get along the way we do. We stand on top of our business. If we say a movie's bad, we don't feel like we have to write a movie a specific way because anybody's watching. My
Right.
thing is at the end of the day, if a studio can't take criticism for their movies, then like it is what it is. Like, what are you gonna do? Revoke my access to a movie? Like,
Right.
come on. Like, I don't understand. Like, because it's funny to me because there was like an aspect of time like Dom and I were like we saw each other screeners. We talk every once in a while, but then there's like over time, it became a little bit something more. And it was going to be like a year or even 2 years into this
Yeah.
process where it's like, before we really were like, after then it was like, man, we would sit outside of films after movies are over for hours and just talk about about the movies. And it's about standing in a business. And I think that's almost the perfect segue for the movie that we're going to talk about this week is Red One. And I'll let you do your aspect of it, what you do every week. But when you go into a movie like Red One, especially during a time like this, okay, when you have critics that are part of critic groups, when you're part of Critics' Choice, you're watching 10, 12, 15 different movies in a week, whether it's at a screening, whether it's at home. It doesn't matter what we're doing. If we're doing something right now, 95% of the time it has to do with watching movies. So because of that, when you give us a screening of a movie that is not in that equation, it's not even in that conversation. You want to go into that with a different mind frame. I don't watch a real pain with the same mind frame that I watch Red One.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot on this podcast. I don't watch the Fast and the Furious movies the same way that I'll watch any Oscar movie ever, even though Vin Diesel should probably have about 7 of them by now. But no, it's crazy to me because I walked into Red One wanting one thing. I wanted to be entertained. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute, but that's what we want out of these films this time of year. I watched Hot Frosty on Netflix. Is it the greatest movie I've ever seen? No. But did I have a blast because it made me shut my brain off from this Oscar season for like 2 hours? Yes, I liked it because of that even more so. But that being said, I'm going to let Dom do his thing here. Let's dive into this week's movie review.
All right, Red One. When the villain kidnaps Santa Claus from the North Pole and Elf, extremely large and formidable, Operative joins forces with the world's most accomplished tracker to find him and save Christmas. The film is directed by Jake Kasdan and, of course, stars Dwayne The Rock Johnson, Chris Captain America Evans, Kiernan Shipka, J.K. Simmons, Lucy Liu, Bonnie Hunt, and a bunch of other people. I'll go first. Um, so just to piggyback off what you were saying, I knew when I saw the trailer for this film exactly what it was going to be and exactly what I wanted to see out of it. And in my written review, I kind of mentioned that it's Black Adam and Captain America in a movie together. Like this is a clash of all these, from two big characters from fandoms. Whether you know The Rock from wrestling and his other movies, and then Chris Evans from whatever he's in and the MCU, like we know that these two are entertainers. And this movie, to me, you know, quickly became something that I would watch every holiday season because I'm not one for one, I'm not a big Christmas guy. Most people that know me know this. I'm not a big Christmas guy. And all the Christmas films that we frequently see, especially the ones that come out every single year, whether it's Netflix, whether it's Hallmark, it's a lot of this super mushy, super family, home for the holidays, dating during Christmas, boyfriend in the stocking, those type of movies. And it's like those are cool and they serve their purpose. But I need something for me, right? I need something that screams like we're making Christmas cool. And the only movie that I frequent during the holiday season is Jingle All the Way. Love it. And this is a new one that I think I will frequent every year. It's got action. It's got the cheesiness. It's funny. It's got a little heart, but it gives you that same Christmas feeling, but in a very different way. And I think that's what makes it special. We do have The Rock kind of playing The Rock, but he is a little more toned down because he's about business in this movie. We have Chris Evans, who I liken his persona in this film to how he played in Knives Out. It's kind of this kind of smug, asshole. I know better than everybody else. I don't really care about anyone's feelings type of person. And a whole crew of characters that made Christmas really cool looking. I mean, the giant reindeer, and you have this swole daddy Santa Claus and J.K. Simmons. And one of the coolest things one of the first things I told Ricky after the movie, which was one of my favorite things, is it's one of the only films that accurately, and I say accurately because of detail, but explains how Santa is able to do what he does. There's portals in the movie, there's warp speed, there's this whole rigmarole of things that gets done to make it happen. And along with nods to other past Christmas films and adding in there's been a Christmas witch mentioned in another Christmas movie. You've had Krampus mentioned in this movie, another Christmas movie. So it kind of took all the fun aspects of all these Christmas films, threw them all together, and gave it this kind of superhero vibe. And it was a ton of fun, man. I felt like a kid in there. Um, and that's what the film I think was trying to do. It just wanted to give you a good time. It had, decent character arcs, and it still had a message. Every Christmas movie has to have that redeemable thing, and this one has that with Chris Evans' character. I think his name was Jack O'Malley. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fun. Is it a perfect movie? It wasn't trying to be. It was trying to be exactly what it turned out to be, and I don't think that it should be punished for not making you cry or making you feel super fuzzy inside, because the movie has, like, they cuss. It's a Christmas movie and they're cussing. It's not your what I say. It's not your granddad's Christmas movie. This is new. This is you fun. Take your teenagers, because we all know. I literally had this conversation today. Teens nowadays, they don't watch the same things. They don't help. They really don't watch TV. They watch YouTube and they watch TikTok. So giving them something like this that's like a break from what we normally see, I think you got to tip their hat to give something fun and creative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Christmas movies are a dime a dozen nowadays, right? You know what I mean? We get 100 Christmas movies a year. It's a tradition. It happens, right? But one of the things that really encaptures everything here is like you said, there's comedy, there's action, the cast, there's the Christmas spirit. There's so many different dynamics when you're watching this movie that you're like, damn, this is actually a lot of fun. And to me, it starts at The Rock and Chris Evans, right? Because you've heard so much behind the scenes about this movie and about, oh, they didn't do this and they didn't do that. To me, Chris Evans being the comedy allowed The Rock to be the kind of character that we expect. He didn't have to carry the film, and he didn't allow. Sometimes he lets his ego get in the way of letting somebody else kind of outshine him, and that's why,
Yeah.
to me, this back and forth between these two reminded you of him and Kevin Hart. It's give and take, give and take, give and take. It's not give, 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 give. He kind of put himself on the back on the back seat, and to me that's important. It's essential, because The Rock can be funny, but he's the punchline. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not the comedian. He's the punchline most of the time, and that's okay. And it's silly. It's stupid. It's dumb. But there's so many different things I loved about. I love the element of talking about mythological creatures in this film. You had the headless horseman make an appearance. You know what I mean? That was cool as hell. And not just describing the Santa Claus things, but describing all of those other elements of mythological creatures in a different way. I thought that was a cool little added touch to that they really didn't have to
Right.
do. And it was pretty cool. And like you said about the whole Christmas thing. Yeah, I mean, it brings it full circle. It has a little cheesy moments, but you know what? It's fine because it earned that. I feel
Yeah.
like it earned the cheesy moment. Are the FX at times or in CGI a little wonky? Yeah, sure it is. But again, who fucking cares? Like, I had fun. I hope this movie makes a lot of money, because I genuinely speak for myself. I would watch Red One too. Okay,
Yep.
and you can, I would in a heartbeat. And there's so many different ways you can go with it. There's so many different movies built into the idea of Red One Two, but to me, I love it. I really enjoyed myself. I thought it was fun. It's no nonsense. It's one of the better action comedy style Christmas movies that we've seen in quite some time. They're not here anymore. And to me, like you said, my favorite Christmas movie of all time is Jingle All the Way. You know what I mean? It legitimately is. I was thinking about that. I was like, man, they should just remake that just so that I can, just because, there's so many different elements of what you could do with it. But it's just a fun Christmas movie. I really hope people go out to theaters and support it in its second weekend. I do know that, I respect critics across the board. I do 100%, but the critics just absolutely shitting on this movie. I don't get it. I truly do not understand it, because what did you expect? Like, what
Yeah.
did you expect? This is exactly what I wanted it to be. It did exactly what I needed it to do, and I had a hell of a good time in the process. So, kudos to everybody a part of it because this audience score is massive. Cinema score was A minus. Hopefully, the movie starts making some more money overseas. Get it up in that $400-500 million mark. I want Red One too ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, how could you be mad at like the creative way they did the snowmen? Like they pop out on some like Mortal Kombat shit, swolled up, and whatever they touch turns to ice. That's fucking cool. They're throwing snowflake ninja star. That's hard. Like I don't know, like, and then I'm not gonna spoil how you defeat them, but it's like, oh, that makes sense. And I was like, that's fun, man. Like this whole kind of spy mission superhero, and then the way that they did the North Pole was super cool. It is very reminiscent of the other things we've seen.
And how they intertwined using the toy
Yeah,
stores and using the toy
yeah,
stores, that's a fucking brilliant idea.
yeah,
Like, there's levels of actually intelligent writing in this movie that people are
yeah,
just like, I and I said this before, and I said this to my brother, I'm like and he actually said it to me first, and it's like, it's crazy how fast we've gone from how cool The Rock is to shitting on The Rock.
yep.
You're shitting on The Rock before you've even had an opportunity to see the movie. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people
Mhm,
are doing. And that to me
yep.
is annoying. See the movie. Watch the movie. And if you watch it and hate it, you're sorry. You're just boring. You know what I mean? I don't know what else to say. I don't.
I mean, the whole shooting the getting grab some supplies and the grabbing the tools, and you
That
see it
was cool as fuck.
yeah, you see it in the trailer where he shoots the car and he's like, "What'd you do that?" And he goes, "I changed this to reality or altered its reality." That's fucking funny. That's cool.
Yeah.
Like, and then he's like, "No, it doesn't work on everything because
Yeah, the
he
whole
wants to."
Wonder Woman thing. Like
Yeah, that's
it's
great.
man, I don't
And
know. It
especially
was
him saying Wonder Woman because they both played superheroes. So it just
exactly.
adds a layer to it. Like it's
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, that movie was fun. I don't care what anybody says. All right, so we are going to talk about let's talk about Wicked. Can't share that fucking clip. Hold on one second. Whoops, sorry about that. We're not doing a review. This is just going to be a 2 sentence out of the theater reaction, full review coming from both of us, probably sometime this week. Embargo, I think, is Tuesday, November 19th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. So you can check out everybody's review at that time. And then obviously it'll probably be a point of topic on next week's episode of the Popcorn People podcast, along with the other 900 million movies we're watching this week. But Dom, give me 2 sentences on Wicked. That's not a review. That's just a reaction.
All right. So I'll say uh beautiful voices, right? The songs are great. I think the the uh the performances along with the topical messaging that it's trying to convey outweighs the entirety of the film, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I don't agree with you 100%. You know what I mean? On
Yeah,
some, well, I do think that there is an undertone to it that I really did appreciate that you're
yeah,
talking about.
yeah,
We'll go in more depth about that.
and if the people that have watched the stage play or maybe read some stuff, they'll know like the undertones that the original had, which was undertones of like the rise of like the Third Reich, and
Yeah.
now we have what we have now. I don't have to say it, but we know, and so it's topical. Unfortunately, it is a two-parter film, so you didn't get that full effect, and having it like that may take away a little bit from the full message.
I'm going to read word for word my tweet, which is a tweet and not a review. Wicked movie is fine. Cynthia and Ariana's chemistry shines the brightest, but the bloated runtime mixed with the mediocre side character leaves you exhausted when the credits roll. Hats off to production, costume, and the FX team. That is my initial out of the theater reaction on that fucking movie that felt longer than Killers of the Flower Moon and The Irishman combined.
Yeah,
Uh,
if no one knows, it does have a 2 hour 41 minute runtime. Uh, the our screenings, they usually have security, and he did not know that it was that long. And I was like, "Yeah, man, it's crazy because this is gonna take up like half of our day. That movie's almost 3 hours long." And he was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, it's like 2 hours and 41 minutes." And he was like, "Oh man, that's not great." I don't know what he had going on, but I think he thought it was gonna start sooner than it was. When I told him 2 o'clock, he was like, "2?" And I was like, "Yeah, like what did you what did you think, man?" It is a lengthy movie, and you wouldn't expect a musical to be this long.
Yeah, and the thing about this is what you have to factor into this is obviously we are blessed with the idea of not having trailers, but now put trailers into
Yeah.
this. You're talking
Yeah.
3 hours, 15 minutes maybe total. You know what I mean?
Yep.
There's about 15, 20 minutes of trailers,
Yep.
or so. So definitely looking at least a 3 hour, 3 hour, 10-minute block. And that to me is going to be interesting to see if it hinders its box office at all. Obviously, this probably appeals more to like teenagers and above. Obviously, that middle crowd, I'd say probably, 25 to 50 or whatever, probably be the bread and butter just because of the musical, the book,
Yeah.
et cetera, and
And
the
I
visual.
think what we saw today, this is going to turn into an event like Barbie. We saw a bunch of people dressed in pink and green.
Pulled all the way up, man.
Yeah, like one dude had a whole pink suit on. I saw someone with like pink and green suspenders, a woman with a pink dress on. So I think the the initial fans who go to these things, take their pictures of these earlier screenings and post them online. This will become a big spectacle, and I'm sure everyone has their pink left over from Barbie, so I'm sure we'll see a lot of that.
But go ahead and support Cynthia too with that green because
Yeah,
that's really
yeah.
who matters the most here. All right. That being said, all right, Dom.
Uh-oh.
What have you watched this week? Give us some quick thoughts on some movies you've watched this week.
You mentioned A Real Pain.
Yeah.
I watched that last night. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Something Jesse Eisenberg has a very special brand. I told this to Ricky earlier. It's crazy that he can play the same type of personality in a lot of movies, but it feels like it belongs in that movie. Like some people play themselves, but he plays a personality type, and it always hits. And this one works even better. But I think Culkin is the standout. That dude. It's a if you haven't seen the movie, and I know, and you know what I think what happens in the film world is we see a lot of films that are very I don't want to like we see the art house movies that the
Yeah.
majority of audiences won't see. We see a lot of these intense dramas and indie films that the general audiences don't really see. But if you do see like an actor you recognize, just take a chance. You know what I
Just
mean? Like I feel like A Real Pain isn't one that was advertised a lot, but you recognize both those actors. Take a chance, and more times than not, you're going to be surprised on what you see. What else did I watch? I saw Maria. I love the performance more than I love the movie. But Angelina Jolie, that
so
I,
good.
yeah, it's fantastic. Um, I can't remember if we ever talked about The Order, but
Yeah,
watch The
we did.
Order
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. So good.
and
Pissy, but
and and I will say too, I ended up watching something older, um, SLC Punk. It came out in '99, and it kept jumping in my face when I turned my TV on and took a gander. And it's a good movie, man. If you haven't seen it and you're trying to look for some kind of old, or you want to feel the '90s again, this is one of those movies that's gonna make you feel like you're in the heart of the '90s. And I lived in Utah at the time the movie came out. I was younger though, but it definitely feels reminiscent of when I lived there. Uh, and I think I was we can't really talk about the movie, but I watched that the Lord of the Rings
Oh yeah,
The war of I don't even know how to pronounce that word, but
yeah, neither can I. So
but
we
we
can't say
watched
nothing
that.
about.
Can't say nothing about it, but I watched it.
I watched
Um,
it. I watched it. Yeah.
and yeah, I think that's probably the big hitters that I watched this week.
I mentioned Hot Frosty earlier. Watched that. I actually enjoyed it. I forget what you said earlier, but it needs to be a movie like Snowman in the Stocking or something. Shit, that was just hilarious. That's probably the next one they got. This is a sequel to Hot Frosty. I watched Queer with Daniel Craig. It's definitely a movie that I watched. Daniel Craig is pretty solid in it. The second half of that movie, there's again the trend of me seeing movies where the second half of the movies or the third act is atrocious. Continued. The Outrun, a very boring movie.
Oh yeah.
Good performance from Running. The Room Next Door, very boring. It's been a rough little patch for me. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a rough patch for me. I watch American Horrors, Horizon, Saga, MAGA, whatever it's called. Whoops. Chapter 1. That was a chapter 1 too. Jeez, that was fucking forever. I watched 100 Beavers. Everybody talked about it's the greatest movie since sliced bread, and it is absolute dog shit. Did not laugh in the first 45 minutes, even though people said it is in fact a comedy. They lied. Let's see here. That's all I've got. This week should be a busy week. We're going to see Nickel Boys tomorrow, Gladiator. You're seeing Gladiator on Tuesday. So next week's episode is going to be packed with, we're going to talk more about Wicked. We're going to talk about Gladiator 2. We're going to talk about Nickel Boys. We're going to talk about so many different things. But folks, we know what we have to do. We're not leaving yet. Okay. We're not leaving quite yet. We do not leave without doing my favorite little game that we like to call Blind Rankings. All right. Blind Rankings is back for another run. As we talk about each and every week, Dom has absolutely no clue what we are about to blind rank. So I'm going to continue to try to make it themed based on what we talk about on the podcast. So this week is going to be based on Christmas movies.
Oh shit.
So I figured, I was like, you know what better way to throw some curveballs in this bad boy than that? So I thought about doing Thanksgiving foods, but we'll save that one for next week because next week is not Thanksgiving. The week after is. So this week is Christmas movies. Dom, are you ready?
Yeah,
I'm going to throw a little bit of a softball right out the equation. Okay. We're going to go with Home Alone.
Ooh, Home Alone, Home Alone, Home Alone, Home Alone.
When you got the big board, when you have the whole board, it's a different game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh shit. Well, I'm gonna put Home Alone at a comfy little 3.
Home Alone, number 3, baby. Let's go. Ooh. Home Alone. All right, number 3, we got Home Alone. All right, what do we got next? Let's see here. We're gonna go The Night Before.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's one of the best underrated Christmas movies I think of all time.
Yeah. Ooh, shit. Damn, I wish I would have put Home Alone at 4. You know what? I'm gonna go hard on this one. I'll put it at 2.
Whew, so good though. It's such a good movie.
Yeah.
There's another movie I'd take another second. Michael Shannon's performance in that one's so good though too. So good. All right, we are gonna go with Bad Santa.
Ooh. You know what? And I just watched this like a month ago. It just happened to be on, and I was like, it's always been one that I've kind of enjoyed. I'd never like loved it. I think when I was younger, it was like edgy. So we'll put that one at. We'll put it at 5.
5. All right. We've got 3 left, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna go with Elf.
See, I'm not too hype on Elf like everybody else is.
Ooh, controversial.
Like it's cool, but it's like I don't know. I don't think I've ever finished the whole movie in one sitting ever. It's
My
always
wife
like,
just watched it the other night for the 7,000th
oh, it's
time.
my wife's favorite movie.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just like, it's cool, I guess. We'll put that at we'll put it at 4. It's not bad. It's just, you know, maybe it's too happy for me. I don't know. Maybe I'm broken on the
I mean, it stands the test of time that Will Ferrell is one of the most overrated actors in
inside.
comedies. But all right, this is we're gonna go with Elf, or not Elf. Sorry, we're gonna go with The Grinch.
Ooh.
Jim Carrey's The Grinch, by the way, for those of you asking.
I'm afraid of these last two. I I'll put this at 6 because I've never seen the whole entire movie.
Oh man.
I tell you, man, like
See, see
I
what's, I decided to do this knowing that you're not a big Christmas movie guy. But what really pissed me off was I really wanted something else to be number one, just so you'd be pissed off whenever I tell you what number six is, because we all know what number six is. You know what I mean? It's in my opinion the greatest Christmas
oh
movie
yeah.
of all time.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted something else to be number one, so that whenever I would go last pick Jingle All the Way, that it would be not number one on your
Dude,
list.
like especially if you grew up in the 90s when like the Elmo craze was popping
The
off.
Trolls, Elmo,
Yeah,
the Go
what
Go
was
Pets thingy, the
yeah, and
little
what was the little thing looked like a gremlin, like Furbies, I think.
Furbies, yeah,
Yeah,
Trolls,
like
Furbies, all of that.
when you had to go to the toy store to get toys, and
Yes,
the
you had to
parents
stand
were
in line.
yeah, and the parents were like, "Oh, they really want this toy," and I waited till the last minute, and you got to go in there with your damn near boxing gloves and a mouthpiece to get that last toy.
Exactly.
Like, oh, it's so good. I don't, it's so good. And the pairing of Sinbad and Arnold, who would have thought
It would have been
that?
as good as it is.
Oh my god! Like,
Yeah.
and I remember, I was like, you know what? I know the toy looks cheap, but I want me a Turbo Man. Like, let
Oh,
me get one.
100%, dude. Then I wanted I wanted a Turbo Man when I was a kid. It is crazy though to what, like, if you watch it, like there was probably about 10 years ago. Maybe not 10, maybe 7 or 8. I got the opportunity to take my daughter to see it in theaters. They showed it in the theater in
Uh,
Antioch. And it was awesome because to me, like, it's crazy to think about, because like as kids, like, you remember the days of like lining up. Even like I even remember going on Black Friday, we'd go stand in line for hours and
right.
go get shit, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have all of that. I remember staying up late and going and getting a video game late at night.
Yo.
There's so many different things that we remember that are just so easy to access now because you just buy it off
Hmm.
Amazon. You know what I mean? Like, when a
Yo.
game drops, you can just download it onto your fucking system, and it's done and over with. You didn't stand in line or have to go reserve it 3 weeks ahead of time in hopes to getting the damn thing. You know what I mean?
I
So,
know. I think that's maybe that's what the kids' problem is that everything is so attainable.
mhm.
As far as like if you have the money, you can get it because it's a click away. So it doesn't have that same special feeling. When we get a video
Yeah,
game, we play that video game for like 6 months every day straight because we knew that they were so expensive. We might not get another one. And now it's like, oh, it's on sale, download it, or it's for free, download it. And it's like, it takes away that uniqueness.
it does. It does 100%. But that was a fun one. All right, folks, like we do every week here on the podcast, I'm going to give Mr. Don Fisher 1 minute of unfiltered, unblocked time to talk about whatever his heart desire. The 1 minute starts now.
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this for a few weeks now. And I think I have figured out part of what this collision of opinions and virality in American culture is. And it's going to sound weird, but the problem is sports. And not sports in the sense of watching them, is the fact that we are so much engulfed in competition, whether it's at work, whether it's in politics, whether it's your religion. We always have to pick a side and scream that our side is better than the other side. And we never come together in the middle to kind of um, hear what the other one's trying to say, because we have a tendency to wait to speak and rather than listening to what the person is saying. So, once we can come together and realize, hey, your favorite team, that guy might be on my team, so maybe my team isn't as bad as you think it is. Maybe we can kind of find some kind of common ground, because I've gotten to the age where I don't care about teams anymore. I just want to see a good game. You feel me? So, like, look, when we live in this life, we just need to see a good game, because eventually we're all going to end up on the same team. You know what I mean? Straight like that.
I like it. I like it a lot. That is it for this week's episode of the Popcorn People podcast. We'll be back next Sunday, like I said, talking about Gladiator 2, Wicket, and 50 million other movies. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week.